Yo, hello. How's it going? Welcome to, mm, I'd say it's part four now, right? Part four of a secret reads recording. Um, hi, hi. Hope you guys are doing well. I, had half a cookie. Well, it was a big cookie my mom baked. I can't put my finger on what was, mm, oh, sorry. Yeah. Put my finger on like what my mom made it with. They had chocolate chunks. Probably walnuts. I think she used walnuts. I remember seeing walnuts in the kitchen. Yeah, secret. Oh, how long was I muted for? My bad. I was talking a bit. Do you remember hearing me talk about cookie? Because I was saying my mom made cookies. Had chocolate. Long time since I started. Oh, whip. That's okay. I was thinking Rimeng. I think it was the Eskimo, the cat, and Vladido becoming small gems. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, Scott Brober. Small gem. Yeah, I got a cookie. I had it with milk. It was okay. I prefer gooey cookies. This was a bit dry, but at least when I heated it up, the chocolate chunks in it melted. So that was nice. It had walnuts. I'm pretty sure it was walnuts. It had walnuts in the kitchen. Yeah. That's what I was saying. The walnuts in the kitchen. Yum. And then I took off my headset. It's more comfy that way. I can hear myself. I was saying, like, it's spooky Sunday. You should play horror games on this day. I found something. It's not really. I'm not sure if it's a spooky story, but it has gravestone, old gravestone in its title. So I'll see. I'm gonna do one. Just read it all the way through, just for practice. See what story is like, and go from there. I can't do all. I'm not very good at that. I need more practice. See, oh, sorry to say. Just a second. Just exercise real quick. Okay. My friend used to read Edgar Allan Poe short stories. Oh, I've read some of the works. Pretty good. I like it too. It's usually mystery, isn't it? Maybe I'll check those out. Mm-hmm. Uh, hmm. The Old Gravestone. Oh, forgot to press record. You know, this is my practice one. The Old Gravestone by Hans Christian Andersen. In a house with a large courtyard in a provincial town, at the time of the year in which people say the evenings are growing longer, family sing. In which people say the evenings. Okay. In a house with a large courtyard. In a house with a large courtyard in a provincial town, at that time of the year in which people say the evenings are growing longer, a family circle was gathered together at their old home. A lamp burned on the table, although the weather was mild and warm, and the long curtains hung down from the open windows, and without the moon shone brightly in the dark blue sky. But they were not talking of the moon, but of a large old stone that lay below in the courtyard, not very far from the kitchen door. The maids were often laid the clean copper saucepans and kitchen vessels on the stone. The maids often laid the clean copper saucepans and kitchen vessels on the stone, that they might dry in the sun, and the children were fond of playing on it. It was, in fact, an old gravestone. Yes, said the master of the house. I believe the stone came from the graveyard of the old church of the convents, which was pulled down, and the pulpits, the monuments, and the gravestones sold. My father bought it. My father bought the latter. Most of them were cut in two and used for paving stones, but that one stone was preserved whole and laid in the courtyard. Anyone can see that it is a gravestone, said the eldest of the children. The representation of an hourglass and part of the figure of an angel can still be traced. but the inscription beneath it is quite worn out, excepting the name Preben and the large S close by it. And a little farther down, the name of Martha can be easily read. And a little farther down, the name of Martha can be easily read, but nothing more, and even that cannot be seen unless it has been raining, or when we have washed the stone. Dear me, how singular. Why, that must be the gravestone of Preben Schwein? Preben Schwein and his wife. The old man who said this looks old enough to be the grandfather of all present in the room. Who looks old enough to be the grandfather of all present in the room. Yes, he continued, these people were among the last who were buried in the churchyard of the old convent. They were a very worthy old couple. I can remember them well in the days of my boyhood. Everyone knew them, and they were esteemed by all. They were the oldest residents in the town. Esteemed by all. Sorry. They were esteemed by all. They were the oldest residents in the town, and people said they possessed a ton of gold, yet they were always very plainly dressed in the coarsest stuff. But with linen. 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 Bum bum. Wait, isn't that like, wait a minute, isn't that an artist chat? You know, John, right? John Lennon. John. Yum, pretty sure it sounds familiar. Let me take my headset off. From the Beatles. Huh? No, all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all your edges. All your perfect imperfections. Okay. Anyone can see it as a gravestone. Are you ready for that part? Lennon. Where was I? Lennon. Hey, Yodel. Martha can be easily read, but nothing more, and even that cannot be seen unless it has been raining or when we have washed the stone. Dear me, how singular. Why, that must be the gravestone of Preben Schwein and his wife. The old man who said this looked old enough to be the grandfather of all present in the room. I just... Okay. Yes, he continued. Yes, he continued. These people were among the last who were buried in the churchyard of the old convent. They were a very worthy old couple. I can I can remember them well in the days of my boyhood. Everyone knew them, and they were esteemed by all, and they were esteemed by all. They were the oldest residents in the town, and people said they possessed a ton of gold, yet they were always very plainly dressed, in the coarsest stuff, but with linen of the purest whiteness. Preben and Martha were a fine old couple, and when they both sat on the bench at the top of the steep stone steps, in front of their house, with the branches of the linden tree waving above them, and nodded in a gentle friendly way to passers by, it really made one feel quite happy. They were very good to the poor. They fed them. They were very good to the poor. They fed them and clothed them, and in their benevolence, there was judgment as well as true. There was judgment as well as true Christianity. The old woman died first. Wait, is he still reading? He is. He's telling his whole story. The old woman died first. That day is still quite vividly before my eyes. I was a little boy and had accompanied my father to the old man's house. Martha had fallen into the sleep of death just as we arrived there. The corpse lay in the bedroom, near to the one which we sat, and the old man was in great distress, weeping like a child. He spoke to my father and a few neighbors who were there, of how lonely he should feel now that she was gone, and how good and true she is. How good and true she, his dead wife, had been during the number of years that they had passed through life together. Now they had become acquainted and learned to love each other. I was, as I have said, a boy and only stood up. I feel like I should just do my normal voice. What do you think? Do you like a kind of different voice like that, or just stick to my normal? I was, as I have said, a boy and only stood by. I was, as I have said, a boy and only stood by and listened to what the others said. But it was of the days of the courtship. I've lost where I was. But it filled me with a strange emotion to listen to the old man, and to watch how the color rose in his cheeks as he spoke of the days of their courtship, of how beautiful she was, and how many little tricks he had been guilty of. Oh, it's okay. My throat doesn't really hurt when I do it like that. I'm not really forcing it too much. So I don't mind. Just wondering, because I imagine it doesn't sound too natural, so. God, God. Oh, flip. Reminds me. Mm. The corpse, where was I? Learn to love each. Of how beautiful she was, and how many little tricks he had been guilty of, that he might meet her, that he might meet her. And then he talked of his wedding day, and his eyes brightened, and he seemed to be carried back by his words to that joyful time. And yet there she was, lying in the next room, dead, an old woman, and he was an old man, speaking of the days of hope, long passed away. Ah, well, so it is. Then I was but a child, and now I am old. As old as a Priebenschwein then was. Actually, let me see if it shows how to pronounce this word. Shrina. Okay, not that way. Okay. Struggles to read out loud. Same, bro. But you know what? I struggled to read, but at the same time, back in school, I had like this crush on someone, right? And like, whenever you have a crush, you want to look good in front of them, right? And I thought the way I could get him to notice me was through good grades, um, you know, uh, and being good at sports, pretty much being good at everything. So like whenever the teacher would ask a question, I would study up so that I can raise my hand, and then maybe I might catch his attention when I answer it, right? And then you know what? This is why I practiced reading by myself before too. I was like, okay, I'm I'm gonna go read these fanfics on Wattpad in private out loud so I can like practice the way I speak and stuff. So when the teacher asks me to read out loud, I'm prepared. Is this the ant? Yes, it is. It's the ant guy. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not talking about the ant guy. I mean, I'm ant story. It's a different story. Fanfic. Okay, it wasn't fanfics back then. Fanfics was later on, a few years later, so it wasn't the ant. I was reading different stories. It was like grade school. You know how like they tell you to bring home a book to read, and they like test you on it and stuff. It was like small little book. Mm-hmm. That was fun days. Awesome story. Yeah, so yeah, I mean it helps, even though like it never worked out or anything. I still gained a bunch of skills I've worked on for that. What else did I do? Oh yeah. When we were told to like exchange papers. I mean like check each other's papers. I would erase his answer to make him correct. Listen, there was barely any answers to correct. He was a smart guy too. So I was chilling. Okay, okay, I write a fanfic. I try it, it's hard. I don't know how people get so creative with their words. I'm like, what? Listen, I tried and I was like, okay. I said blah blah blah. He said blah blah blah. I said blah 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 sadly. He said blah 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 happily. They looked at the wall. I don't know. I can't make it creative. Some people are like, mm. I glanced at the window with the sun rays, with the rays of the sun peeking through the curtains onto his um soft pale skin. I don't get it. I don't know how to do that. Oh my god, I don't care. I used to raise answers to make people. Okay, bro. Sure, but sure. Okay. Okay. Hey, some water. Hey, Happy. To make you feel better about yourself. I'm sure it would make me. You ever cheat on a test? I'm guilty. Not proud of it. But not gonna lie, it was so fun. It's so fun to it's just try. Not even. Never mind. It sounds so bad. I'm not gonna say that line. It's so fun to like see if you'll get. I don't. Never mind. Like no, it's not really fun. It's more like it's scary. It's like it's like when you take risks, kinda. I Mm. Like I remember I used to have like my hair down. You see my hair on my right side like this. I would put my hair forward and like if you check, you can actually see through your hair. So like I knew this my hair is covered here, looking through the strands. But it's you know I didn't really go through with it because I was like, dude, you cannot trust those answers you see from others. Mm-mm. I did not trust my classmates. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it myself. It's way easier. Mm. I think it's because of Naruto. Naruto influenced me. Remember that episode, the Chunin exams, where you're supposed to cheat not to get caught? hmm I mean, you're supposed to cheat and try not to get caught. hmm That's cool. Close your eyes. Owie. I wish my eyelashes were longer. Sorry, it's made me think of like how my brother has a lot of eyelashes getting into his eye, but he has long eyelashes. He's lucky, lucky. Yes, I did, Tom. Yes, I did. Art is my childhood. I learned almost everything I know from it. Let me drink some more water. Alright. It was a little boy. I feel like I talk normally for now. A few years before this time. 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 A few years before this time, the old couple had their gravestones prepared with an inscription in their names, with an inscription in their names, but not the date. Oh. A few years before this time, the old couple had their gravestone prepared with an inscription in their names, but not the dates. But not the dates. In the evening, the stone was taken to the churchyards and laid on the grave. A year later, it was taken up, but but that old prebend might be laid by the side of his wife. They did not leave behind them wealth. They left behind them far less than people had believed they possessed. What they what there was two families distantly related to them, of whom till then no one had ever heard. Of whom till then no one had ever heard. Of whom till then no one had ever heard. The old house with its balcony of wickerwork and the bench at the top of the high steps under the lime tree was considered by the road inspectors too old and rotten to be left standing. Afterwards, when the same fate befell the convent, church, and the graveyard was destroyed, the gravestone of Preben and Martha, like everything else, was sold to whoever would buy it. And so it happened that this stone was not cut into as many others had been, but now lies in the courtyard below, a scouring block for the maids and a playground for the children. The paved street now passes over the resting place of old Preben and his wife. No one thinks of them any more now. And the old man who had spoken of all this shook. And the old man who had spoken of all this shook. And the old man who had spoken of all this shook his head mournfully and said, "Forgotten, ah yes, everything will be forgotten." And then the conversation turned on the other matters. On the other matters. But the youngest child in the room, a boy with large earnest eyes, mounted upon a chair behind the window curtains, and looked out into the yard, where the moon was pouring a flood of light on the old gravestone, the stone that had always appeared to him so dull and flat, but which lay there now like a great leaf of a book on history, where the moon was pouring where the moon was pouring a flood of light on the where the moon was pouring a flood of light on the old gravestone, the stone that had always appeared to him so dull and flat, which lay there now like a great leaf out of a book of history. All that boy had heard of old Preben and his wife seemed clearly defined on this stone, and as he gazed on it, the glance of the clear, bright moon shining in the pure air, it was as if the light of God's countenance beamed over his beautiful world. Forgotten, everything will be forgotten, still echoed through the room, and in the same moment, an invisible spirit whispered to the heart of the boy, "Preserve carefully the seed that has been entrusted to thee, that it may grow and thrive. Guard it well, guard it well. Through thee, my child, shall be thee, my child." Through thee, my child, through thee, my child, shall obliterate the inscription on the old. I'm gonna take something. Am I me? Now the old pair shall again wander. The old pair shall again wander through the streets, arm in arm, or sit with the fresh, healthy cheeks on the beach, under the lime tree, and smile and nod at the rich, smile and nod at rich and poor. The seed of this hour shall ripen the course of years into a beautiful poem. The beautiful and the good are never forgotten. They live always in story or in a song. I'm really for another story too. Let's have a look. Here's the stories and stuff. One thing I want to read is Little Mermaids, but I'm probably gonna try and find a shorter version because look how long this one is. It's long. It talks about all the stories of Little Mermaid sisters and their adventures too. It's still going. It's still going. This one's so freaking long. But I want to. I want to. So I'm like, I don't know what to read. Uh, no, it's printed on this book here. I'm just. This is like telling me like where the pages are. Mm. Oh, there's the ugly duckling. Hmm. Mm. I like stories with a good like lesson too. That you can learn from it. Fly me to the moon. Da-da-da. So, having a look here. The puppy who lost its way. Yeah, I like fables. Ezek walked up to the lemonade stand, and he said to the man, copyright. Mm, mm-hmm. Mm, mm. The snowman. Mm, the long one. Alright, let's do the graves. Oh, the old gravestone again. Mm. Just one more because it's getting late. Okay. Ba-da-dum-bum-bum. A snowman. Mm. Oh no, it's doing the other one. Mm.